Alright, so this video will be talking about loops. Loops are a fundamental part of programming languages, and definitely so for Java. They're extremely powerful, and they allow you to condense blocks of code, which makes them a lot more readable. If you ever find yourself copying and pasting code because you need to repeat their execution, chances are you instead should be using a loop to accomplish the same task, or function, but this video is about loops, so we're talking about loops. So for loop, which you can see right here, is a classic loop. It's probably the most commonly used one, and it's made up of 3 different parts. You'll see here they're separated by these semicolons. So this part is the initial value, which is normally used to control the loop's progression, and people normally use I, but if you have nested for loops, then you would have to change the variable. It doesn't matter what it's called, this is just really widely used, I equals 0 or 1. And then this middle part is the condition. The condition is checked before running the next iteration of the loop. And then this is your iteration. This is how you advance the loop further. So inside the loop I have a system out.println I. So we're just printing out the this value, and I equals 0. So let's walk through what happens when you run a for loop. First, int I equals 0. Int I less than 10. If it's less than 10, we're going to run this, and then once it's done running, we increment I. So this, I haven't explained it yet, but I++ is the exact same as saying I equals I plus 1. You're just incrementing it by 1, you're adding 1 to it. And then there's also decrementing, which is I minus minus, which is the same as saying I equals I minus 1. It's just a lot shorter, so that's what we use. Alright, so in this loop, so we've already said it's 0, 0 is less than 10, so we print out 0, and then now that the code inside the loop is done, we increment it by 1. So now I is 1, and in the next loop, we no longer do this part, we just check this and then do this part afterwards. So is 1 less than 10? Yes, so we print out 1, and then we increment it. So ideally, this loop would keep running and it'll just print out all the numbers between 0 and 9 inclusive. So let's go ahead and run that. And here it is. So you'll see it goes all the way from 0 to 9. It doesn't print out 10 because the condition is that I is less than 10, not less than or equal. Alright, so that's for loops. Let's go ahead and take a look at while loops. While loops are a lot more simple, but they can be just as powerful compared to a for loop in the way that you use it. While loops only take a single condition. Well, let's go ahead and make it int. Say int I equals 1. Or 0, actually. We'll make the same format as this one, but in a while loop. So you can say while I is less than 10, so that is the condition. They want to print out I. And then after we print out I, we want to increment it. So this is pretty much exactly the same as this. It'll print out 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So let's go ahead and delete this. Run it. Oh wait, did I run it? There we go. Okay. So you'll see that it's exactly the same. But one thing to remember is you always have to be able to progress this number somehow inside the loop. Because if you don't, if you never do this, it'll run an infinite loop because I will always be less than 10 if you don't change it. So always make sure you have this, and you don't want to cause an infinite loop in your program, which will just cause it to stop moving ahead. Alright, and then there's a different kind of while loop called a do while loop. It's the same as a normal while loop, except the code block in the loop is guaranteed to run at least once, no matter what the condition result is. So in this while loop, we see that if we only run it if I is less than 10. So if I was 11, this while loop wouldn't run at all. But if we go ahead and do, let's say int cupcakes equals 5. This is how you write a do while loop. Do, and then this is what we run inside. Let's say system.out.println. Since there are still this number of cupcakes left, I'll eat one. And then we decrement it because we just ate a cupcake. Oops, cupcakes. Okay. And then while cupcakes is greater than 0. So this is the same as just saying while cupcakes is greater than 0, we do this, except even if cupcakes is not greater than 0, we'll run this once before we check the condition. And then afterwards we can write system.out.println all cupcakes gone. Okay, so when we run this, it's just gonna start from 5 and decrement all the way down to 0. So let's run it, see what happens. Since there are still 5 cupcakes left, I'll eat one. So, yeah. Keep saying down, and then once it goes down to 1, all cupcakes are gone. But if we say that there's 0 cupcakes, it'll still run this, even though it's fundamentally wrong to eat cupcakes if there are no cupcakes. It'll tell you, since there is still 0 cupcakes left, I'll eat one. And then all cupcakes are gone. Because it doesn't evaluate this until after the loop is run once. Alright, now let's talk about breaks. We kind of briefly mentioned breaks during switch statements. But basically, a break statement is useful when you want to end a loop prematurely for any reason you want. So, let's say we have a for loop, and I equals 0. After this one's start with 1. We'll count from 1 to 10. I is less than or equal to 10. Iterate I. System.out.println I. So, let's say if I is equal to 5, for no particular reason, we want to break this for loop. So when this loop runs, it'll run as usual, it'll count from 1 to 10, except once it reaches 5, it'll break and this for loop will stop running. So let's go ahead and say loop over here. So you'll notice it counts from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then loop over. Yeah, so it doesn't finish because we broke it here. Now the opposite is a continue statement. So a continue statement is similar to break, except instead of ending the loop, it continues to the next iteration of the loop without running the rest of the loop. So let's say we put this after the if condition, and we say if I equals 5, continue. So what this will do is the for loop will go count from 1 to 10 again, except at 5, at I equals 5, it won't print it out. So it'll actually do 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. So let's go ahead and see what that gives us. 1, 2, 3, 4, and no 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, so that's what continue is used for. Once it reaches this, it continues to the next iteration of the loop and doesn't run this. So that's it for this video. Next video we'll talk about methods or functions. People call them both.